So we'll go to this bit. Okay, so let's start with safe. Right. Hello. Happy New Year.
So you can carry on.
Yeah. Okay. So we talked about proactive strategies within our PHPs, risk assessments, BRPs, using Team Teach when needed. And we broke that down into like how we would like prompt manding, use environmental changes. We've got fob access to things like the gate in the kitchen. And we talked about communicating with ourselves and being quick to adapt. One example of that was whenever the taxis were late to collect the pupils. So then the people outside had to be very quick to adapt to how are we going to keep the pupils safe outside while waiting. We said about recognizing precursor behaviors so we can intervene before full escalation. And then we finished talking about COVID measures that we have to keep everyone safe, like keeping the doors and windows open, wearing masks.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. They're all really good. And actually, I can think of as Corey is in your group, I can think of a particular example, which is in terms of safety, how Corey exemplifies our safe value, which is when there was, when the lock on the kitchen goes dodgy at primary, and he's there shaking the door and making sure that it's sealing. So you definitely exemplify our safe value, Corey. Congratulations. All right, who's next?
Go ahead. Yeah, when G or Donnie engages in unsafe behavior, we honor his voice and we also help him to make safe choices.
Fantastic. Very good. Thank you, Poonam's group. Right, understanding. Give us a wave if you're an understanding.
Some examples we came up with were there was a time when James came in where he wasn't sleeping well. So his tutor, Martina, reduced the demands placed on him throughout the day just to make things a bit more work better for him in school. Another example is being understanding of each other between staff members and supporting each other. For example, if we can see some of the other tutors are having a hard time, swapping out each other to give a mental break.
Brilliant. And I like the way that you talked in your group about understanding both how we understand the pupils, but how we can be understanding for each other as well, which I think is really important in an environment like this. Thank you. All right, who's the next understanding?
We talked about kind of how we are an ABA school, so the function of behaviour is really important, and I think that's just another kind of way of saying like understanding the reason behind the behaviour. And we're kind of understanding the needs of every child. We don't just blanket apply kind of interventions. We really look at kind of data and to see why a behaviour is happening, and then we make our decisions from there. We talked about understanding kind of like following on from understanding the needs of every child. We talked about different people that might affect. So we talked about like understanding the needs of the families we work with. We talked about how we try to be understanding of what is expected of each staff member and their role within school, and also like their professional backgrounds, because obviously people have come from different places and have had training in different things. So we kind of talked about how we would kind of be understanding across everyone's kind of professional experiences.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Jess. Right. Patience. Paulina, you were patience, weren't you? You were one patience.
Okay, so we started first talking about what patience is, and we defined it as the acceptance or tolerating delay in problems without becoming annoyed or anxious. And we have another very good examples. I think one of us said waiting for pupils to make each individual progress at their own pace, because as you know, a lot of people, some may master 10 targets a week and some may master 10 targets a year. So I think that's very important. Aya gave a good example of...
oh, wait there, sorry. Aya, can Aya give us the example? What I'm really keen is that everybody gets an opportunity to speak.
Yeah.
So saying if a child displays any sort of problem behavior and is not feeling great or upset because of something, it's just patience to deal with him and wait for him to, like you said, bring down his energy levels. For us to bring down our energy level and matches and see if he's okay, and then deal with it and take the right measures.
Brilliant, thank you. Anything else?
Another one that we had was being patient with regards to when we're building relationships with new children's parents that we haven't worked with before. So knowing that sometimes it might be a little bit difficult, and being patient in that.
Great contributions, thank you. Who at secondary was on patient?
It was us.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We also felt that the patient one especially kind of ties in with a lot of the other values, especially empathy, because you just kind of have to be aware of how these things might be feeling for the kids, where they're coming from, how they're understanding things. We also spoke about that, I think the guys in primary mentioned it too, that the kids sometimes have to learn to be patient with us and with school. So we have systems in place to kind of teach them how to wait. We have reward systems and things like that. Sophia gave a really good example, and it was when...
And Sophia, give us her example.
Yeah.
I know you're delighted. Come on.
No, I was just mentioning that being patient with staff doesn't have to be anything negative. Like, for example, when Amy had to study and she was going through her exams, we all had to understand and give her that time. And she's, you know, understand that she was busy and she was stressed, and just try to cope as a team.
Which was amazing. They were so helpful. Like running groups, and with the expectations they had with me for that couple of weeks, they were really, really patient.
Oh, that's lovely. It's really heartening. And I think we have to, I think being patient with each other is really important, especially when we're new and we're learning, because obviously, you know, it takes time to get good. Thank you so much. So we've done patient.
So we are enthusiastic.
What an enthusiastic bit of bubble writing.
So yeah, for me personally, so I've just joined, but I'd say one of the big things for me wanting to come was everyone's enthusiasm for learning, for teaching the kids, and for the kids as well, for their enthusiasm in class, for coming into group, for being in group, for interacting with them and watching their enjoyment in the learning. That was a big thing for me wanting to join here. So like across the board, enthusiasm is so important in everything we do. And we went around the group and pretty much everyone had some form of example of enthusiasm, whether it be with a learner, their own personal experience, or something they'd want to share. So we thought we'd do that.
Yeah, mine was the last day in school. We were baking in the kitchen, and all the kids attended using the whisk. Aswell was the last person. When he finished, he shouted, "We did it!" And the whole class repeated, and they all started clapping in the kitchen.
Oh, that's really lovely. Thank you. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Very, very exemplifying enthusiasm there as a group. Okay, what have you got for us?
Tamsin had a good example about Jamal when he waved.
So like when Jamal first waved, like because he'd been trying that for ages and he just wasn't doing that. My enthusiasm when he did that the first time, it was like lots of praise and his high reinforcements, but they were all just so proud of him.
And you are always enthusiastic. Whenever I see you sitting on that table in Andrea's office, I always marvel at your enthusiasm. Great. I think we might only have one respectful group.
So we talked about respecting each other's boundaries for staff and pupils, and talked a little bit about personal space and a bit about cultural background. We talked about an example was staff members praying during work hours. We talked about children's diet. We talked about different holidays that we celebrate. We talked about being respectful of each other's feelings, again, across staff members and children. And this could be, for example, incorporated in our person-centered approach for pupils.
Yeah, I just draw like a little.
Get it nice and close. Get it nice and close. Oh, this is very detailed. Okay, let's see what's going on here. IEP reviews. I can't see what the writing says though.
It's just like a little collaboration when we have to integrate the IP. We talk to each other about the pupil. That's very respectful because we hear each other's opinion.
Brilliant. Well, as often, I am so impressed. I feel like everybody really took that exercise seriously and really thought about it. And there was, it was. Everybody was so thoughtful and really came up with some excellent examples. So I think definitely, we can really, really clearly see how we're living these values every day in our work.